Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to, there it is on your screen there, Watkins Glen International. And this broadcast being brought to you once again by Team Goon Squad. I am your host, Gareth McAllister, bringing you the action in 1080p and 60 frames a second, allowing for my Australian internet, hoping to keep it rocking and rolling for you here tonight. It's looking like it's going to be a fantastic race. We've heard a lot of oopsies, we've heard a lot of sorries in our practice session just before we got the bar rolling, so we are going to see what these drivers are capable of as we head into qualifying at the Glen. Welcome to the Old Bastards Racing League Kim Bowl Cup Series. Qualifying just starting to get underway. We will hop around and take a look at Clay Walker now, who seems to be one of the first drivers out on track. Now he will have his way around as he comes through onto the bus stop. We have been looking for another fantastic road course race, and we've got another one waiting for us right now, coming up in just a few short moments as qualifying does continue to head its way into this field, as these drivers have one last chance to get the drive that they really want, they're really looking for. Welcome to all the fans at home watching and supporting your favorite drivers, potentially your favorite broadcaster, as well as we get ready to check out Clay Walker's first attempt at running around here. Might actually jump on board with him, get an idea just what it takes to roll around me as he heads into turn 1. See those revs climbing a little bit. Gets a little bit loose at the start of the S's there, but not too bad as he heads a little bit out wide and brings it back dialed in, getting ready for the long run down to brake for the bus stop. Have to really get on top of those chicanes. You can see them just throwing the car around, especially that first bus stop corner. You can see it round the carousel. Just gonna ease the power back on, not to get the car too loose. You can use all that runoff on the exit there. Long run back over the bridge, heading into turn 6. Cheeky left-hander there, followed by this quite difficult banked right-hander, helping the cars along. Want to get as close to that outside wall as possible, and back over the start-finish line for the heavy braking zone into turn 1 once again. That is a lap at the Glen, with Clay Walker, who does manage to set the second fastest time in qualifying at the moment. So certainly not a bad run at all for Clay Walker there, as you can see the time starting to come up on the board now. Looks like Greg Hammond has set the bar so far with a 1:13.75. So using a little bit more of the outside edge there. Walker trying to get very much dialed in this second lap. And it's looking quite good at the moment. Use most of the runoff on most of these corners without receiving any of that penalizations that we've got to watch out for. I say penalizations, I mean the off tracks that they do give you can sometimes be misleading, especially around Watkins Glen, as Tom Ogle all of a sudden has set the fastest lap. You saw Clay Walker there managed to get a decent, a bit faster of a time, but not quite as good as some of these guys up front. We're actually going to take a look at Shane Wiseman, who may have had his final race because it looks like he's slowing down. So we will jump back to Jack Yeagerman. We thought about it, and he was just pulling over himself. So we're going to go back to Tom Ogle, who was still making his way around. Thank you for joining us in the chat, Victor Lane. He's going to be racing tonight, talking about how he'll hopefully stay on the track. No cautions due to come out during this one. We are set to go green the entirety of our 45 scheduled laps here tonight. We've got about a 34 to 38 lap window here. We shall see just how these drivers are able to cope. No one is going to be able to make it all the way to the end, but some sort of strategy will definitely play a part. Tom Ogle there setting the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:11.86, and he'll try to match his time. Not quite close enough, only a 1/10 of a second behind. Have a look at Brian Lynch now, making his way through the bus stop, as these drivers have a little bit more room on qualifying, a little bit longer to qualify on this road course, allowing everyone to get just the, I guess, get their whole run dialed in before the end of this one. Jeremy Mayo, Pac-Man CT, the Jay Foxen, Dustin Martinson, as we said, Victor Lane as well, and Gavin Adams coming into the chat, showing support to the league as well as the drivers. And we very much thank you for that. And all those who turn up, especially the ones who turn up week in and week out. This league would not be the same without you. And certainly my job would be a whole lot less fun. So getting really, I guess we're getting a bit sentimental up here in the booth is what I was aiming for, as Brian Lynch currently sits himself in the 10th position. We do have about 35 drivers making their way out. I should mention this is going to be one very, very busy racetrack here tonight. That is for sure, as the Hooters backed Pepsi machine is going to make one more lap around. We're going to see if he's able to improve on his right now 11th place spot, as Jim Smith makes his way into the 10th position over Brian Lynch. See the Hooters backed machine not using as much of the racetrack as he potentially could be, and just a little bit tentative going around this circuit. He does manage to better his own time just by a little bit. However, not quite enough to offset the pace difference to gain himself ahead of Jim Smith and into the top 10, who is now being found out by Cameron Shosey. But there's the man right there, Josh Robinson. And as we say that, Michael Watts, the road course phenom, has made his way into the top spot. And he has been absolutely flying. We saw it at Sonoma earlier this season. Just the sort of pace that we can expect to see out of Mike Watts on all of the road courses. Coming into today's event, all eyes will certainly be on that 84 machine, as he will look to continue to retain that road course ringer status that he has developed over the course of the last few seasons. Now, Mike Watt's one of those drivers that, as I said, he's been looked through by the media, been really focused in on as one to really watch coming into the race here tonight. And you've got to wonder if that plays on a driver's mind a little bit. A lot of expectation from not only the surrounding supporters, but also fans following on and other drivers expecting him to really perform here. And you've got to wonder if that weighs a little bit on one's mental capacity. Got to wonder if that will play a big role into whether he is able to cope with the lead, with the pressure building behind him, as Dale Copeland, we can see, makes a very interesting entry into pit road. And, well, maybe he wanted a spotlight on camera, and I guess he got one. Dale Copeland made his way around there, so he's going to be starting in the 15th position. We are looking at Greg McDaniel now. He has finished his qualifying run as he goes through the bus stop. And qualifying just about to wrap up in a mere few seconds here. So we have a very good race in store, if I can say so. Just from qualifying, it looks like we're going to have a good one. All right, so as the drivers get gridded up, we will run through the field. Starting on pole, Mr. Michael Watts, the road course ringer, once again proving once and for all why he has that status in the league. Josh Robinson, the most winningest driver this season, is starting alongside in the second position. In our second row, Tom Ogle, the teammate of Josh Robinson, always not far behind, but sitting a little bit in Robinson's shadow as per usual. We'll see if he tries to take that glory for himself this race. Dan Hill in the the fourth place position, excuse me, on the second row. Also a fantastic showing from him. John Hinchcliffe and Daryl Winiger in the third row, with Shane Wiesman and Greg McDaniel in our fourth row. Jack Yeagerman with a great performance so far in our fifth row, with Cameron Shosey rounding out our top 10 alongside him. In the sixth row, Wayne Hufford and Jim Smith going to start alongside one another. Brian Lynch and Greg Hammond in our seventh row. Our eighth row consisting of Dale Copeland and Dustin Martinson. Clay Walker and Lloyd Moore in our ninth row. 10th row consisting of Chris Bates and Jonathan Green. Mark Schrader with Brian Lindsay in our 11th row, with Robert Crisco Garisco and Clint the Fast Man Rice is going to be in our 12th row as we keep cycling on back, because we have a lot of drivers to get through. Donnie Spiker, triple number driver, coming out here tonight with a good showing so far in the 25th position, with Dwayne MacArthur starting alongside. Not quite the start MacArthur was looking for tonight. We have heard he is in a bit of a mood, and we will see if that comes to fruition if he tries to work his way through the pack. Patrick Martindale and Jeff Lydon in our 27th and 28th positions. Lee Warsdell with Bruce Pearson alongside for our 15th row. Our 16th row consisting of John Hastings, and our only other triple number driver turning up tonight, Terry Atwood. Victor Lane, always bringing smiles along with him in our 33rd position, with Dean Gear starting alongside in the 34th position, with Troy Baker bringing up the rear, filling out our 35 vehicle grid here tonight. We are looking for some great action coming into tonight. You can see some drivers deliberately taking the line through the bus stop, not wanting to go side by side through there. And it's just a bit of a personal decision. Obviously, you will get a warning from race control. If you do that during the race, you will have a slowdown stop issued by race control themselves, telling you you're going to have to give back some time that you gained doing that move. So we're going to have some very cold tires and some very strong races as we get ready to unleash an insane amount of horsepower.
Green, green, green.
And the green flag is out and away we go straight away. You can see Michael Watts got a nice jump to the inside of Robinson. We're going to see how this one unfolds in just a moment as they make their way around turn 1. Not too much trouble. A little bit further back, we saw a bit of a lockup. I believe that was Jim Smith, but able to get it dialed in pretty well and not have too much of an issue. Might have actually been Greg Hammond now that we look at the vehicle in question. But it looks like everyone's sorted themselves out pretty well so far. And getting a little bit close was Dustin Martinson. So he has worked his way up a couple of positions already as there's a little bit of an issue for Brian Lynch, locking up, missing the bus stop entirely, waiting for traffic to go through without him. A very smart move from him. He's going to rejoin just in the thick of it. But thankfully when everyone was in a solo sort of file through, Jack Yeagerman on the very wide line, able to dial it in and get it back towards the rest of it. Already a little bit of a gap filling up here now. Jim Smith side by side with Greg Hammond. Smith making that move work. Dale Copeland is going to follow him through for the 13th place spot, is where Copeland is right now. And Dustin Martinson already coming down pit road. So potentially an issue for that machine. Closest battle on track right now, Clint Rice, Mark Schrader. Schrader sends it very, very wide. Just narrowly avoids the outside barrier, and we've got another car going off there. We believe that was Jeff Lydon. But Jeff Lydon having a little bit of an incident as well. Hinchcliffe has made his way into the 3rd position now. Michael Watts already building that gap that we were so expecting to see here tonight. Tom Ogle, Josh Robinson has dropped down to the 4th position while we've been watching battles all throughout the racetrack. So definitely some developments unfolding already. Shane Wiseman not too far behind Dan Hill right now, trying to track that machine down in the battle for 5th. Jeremy Mayo telling us the tyres were squealing on the Piggly Wiggly machine is absolutely right. Speaking of, not too far behind, Cameron Shosey has a bit of an incident, locks up the brakes. We were talking to some of these drivers and we've seen evidence of it already. These tyres can lock up quite easily here at the Glen. Car not pressed into the racetrack as you make the run down the hill, so not allowing them to really get the grip they need on the tyres to get the brakes dialed in and get all the traction they would like, as Jonathan Green gets a little bit loose into the bus stop. Dwayne MacArthur, we were riding alongside him as he was making his way through the field, and he's still trying to make his way around Jonathan Green now. Looks like he's going to have a great run heading out of the carousel. Makes his way over the bridge, and he is going to retain, or take over that spot, I should say. Battle developing up front. Greg Hammond. Jim Smith had an issue. What happened to him as he goes for a little bit of a wild ride, keeps it out on the racetrack, doesn't go down pit lane. And he had a bit of a spin. Take a look at that really quickly as the action continues to unfold. You can see Greg Hammond gave him a little bit of a nudge. And 2 drivers trying to occupy the same real estate is never going to work. Here at the Glen, Cameron Shosey trying to make up the positions he lost under braking. not able to do too much with it. Does get around Chris Bates, though. And makes his way back up into the 13th spot. Currently 3 spots down from where he started. Biggest mover of the race so far, Clint Rice, sitting in that 12th spot just ahead. Using all of the racetrack after the carousel. And trying to catch up to the bright blue 88 machine of Greg Hammond, who has a little bit of a bobble coming out of 6 and into 7. Clint Rice is going to take advantage. Take that spot away. Still a little bit of driving to go, though, as he's got a almost 6-second gap between him and Greg McDaniel, sitting in the 10th position right now. So that is going to be a difficult task for him to make up that much of a gap. We will see if Clint Rice is able to do that as the real battle for the leads continues to wage on. Battles just do not stop. Michael Watts and Tom Ogle have separated themselves from the rest of the field, but Hinchcliffe sitting in that 3rd position. No rest for the weary, as Josh Robinson is not too far behind. You can see that 23 machine is hounding the back bumper of the 8 right now. You can see the top 2 have separated themselves each from each other. And there's a bit of a gap, about 2 seconds, just from the back of Tom Ogle's machine to John Hinchcliffe sitting in 3rd. And they're going to be battling all the way down to Darryl Winiger in the 7th position. A little bit of a gap between him and Jack Yeagerman. Definitely one to watch. Speaking of one to watch, just behind Hinchcliffe, you can see Hill is focusing on Robinson right now. And Robinson going on the back of Hinchcliffe, trying to use that draft. Will it be enough heading into the bus stop? Thought better of it. Really, this track has provided so many good battles over the years. Specifically one that comes to mind, Marcus Ambrose, with a huge fight early in the 2010s. I believe that might have actually been 2007. But my history is a little bit fuzzy on that one. I will say I remember the battle very well, though. I believe it was with Brad Keselowski. They were rubbing and racing all the way from the carousel to the start-finish line to see who could get the win. Absolutely phenomenal racing, and we're seeing a little bit of shades of that right now in this battle from 3rd to the 7th position. Jane Wiseman thought about making a move on Dan Hill for a second there. See, heading into the bus stop, getting all of the curbing possible to try and make as much time as possible in the bus stop. Wiseman just behind Dan Hill, not allowing much room at all in the mid-strength of the corner of the carousel. Just looks like Wiseman is able to get a little bit better of a run in the middle of the carousel. Going to see if he can use that to his advantage later on in this race. Only 8 laps completed so far, as Mike Watts takes another lap around. There he goes, out in front. And it looks like Patrick Martindale is going to have to let these drivers go through, as he's still going to be on the inside for when Winiger comes through. Doesn't affect him too much. The fantastic awareness there from Patrick Martindale to stay out of the way and not affect this lead pack all that much. This continues to be our closest battle on track between these drivers up front. Track map and give you an idea. You can see there in the bottom right hand corner of where these drivers are running. based on position. So you can see the numbers in those dials representing where they are on track right now. Michael Watts, the number 1 machine. You can see him just catching up to some lap traffic heading into turn 1. But a lot of these drivers have formed into their own packs right now. And no one truly separated off by themselves. A lot of battles going on right now as we head into lap 9. And Mike Watts heading into the bus stop. We're just going to see just how he's able to do this. Catches a lot of the curbing, but not diving in too deep. You can see taking every inch of every single curb on the bus stop. Nice smooth entry into the carousel. And easing on the gas. Not using too much of the exit on the carousel either. Certainly something interesting we're seeing. As you can see, Clay Walker not too far ahead as he did make his way around Bruce Pearson in the carousel as well. You can see Tom Ogle just barely there coming out of turn 6 in the background. That bright pink machine not too far behind Mike Watts. There he is on track. Making his way around Pearson as well. As we see Wayne Hufford now has a whole back bumper full of Clint Rice, who has made his way not only into the top 10, but now making his way past Hufford into the 9th position, heading into turn 1. So if this shows anything, it is that Clint Rice did not have the qualifying run that he so desperately wanted, and he has a lot of pace under that machine. Now, he did set the fastest lap in practice before qualifying began with a 1:11.16, which is actually faster than the so far fastest time of Mike Watts, who got a 1:11.65. So Clint Rice definitely on a tear at the moment, and he does have the fastest lap time right now with a 1:11.33. Still going to have to work his way through traffic though, as it seems like there's a bit of a bottleneck here coming into turn 7. You can see all those cars in a line as he catches up to the back of this big pack forming. You can see there it is. Josh Robinson thought about making a move on Hinchcliffe, decides not to do it. Darrell Winiger following Troy Baker, gets a little bit of a lockup. And there's going to be a side-by-side battle. Again, that's Baker, who is not involved in this. Battle up the front, lets the drivers go. And Winiger's the big loser in that one, who's losing all of his momentum. And Wiseman may have the run on him heading into the bus stop. It doesn't look like he's going to be fast enough though, so he is going to have to lock it up to not hit the back of Winiger. You can see not too far behind. Here comes Clint Rice. Another lockup from Winiger just in front of Rice. So this one is going to be interesting. How is Rice going to make his way through this battle in front? Hinchcliffe has actually managed about a second gap on Robinson right now. I'll have to see if Robinson can work that one back down or not. As they head up into the S's. On their way to the bus stop once again. So again, the fuel window only turning out to be 34 to 38 laps of this 45 lap event. So definitely a splash and dash is required to make it to the end. Bowlace coming in saying side by side in the bus stop isn't easy. I couldn't agree more. A lot of these drivers opting out from running side by side in the bus stop as we pan to Dwayne MacArthur, trying to work his way around Greg Hammond for the 11th position. 12th position, excuse me. Greg McDaniel has the 11th position right now and is 4 seconds ahead of this battle. Cycling back to the 5th position because Dan Hill still has Darrell Winnigan not too far behind. What we might do, just for the moment, is ride on the nose of the 84 machine. Just get an idea of how quick he is closing up to some of the drivers that are a lap down in front of him as we ride for a lap on board at the front of Michael Watts' machine. See, I'm not sure if you can hear that or not, but he's just faintly hitting the throttle on the way up through the S's as he works his way over 175 miles an hour, backing it down, catching up to the tail end of the 39 machine, who is Jeff Lydon. Goes a lap down to Michael Watts' 84 car. 90 miles an hour through the carousel. I'm not sure if you're getting just what I'm seeing, but you can really get a sense of speed, especially out of these corners when you're right down here on the asphalt. Making his way through turn 7 and out on to back straight, the front straight, I should say, once again. Mike Watts still with a tremendous lead, getting up to around 6 seconds now ahead of Tom Ogle, who himself sitting about 6 seconds ahead of Hinchcliffe. And here comes Clint Rice. So Rice made the move on Jagerman, now on Winniger. And he is looking for Dan Hill right now. Jeremy Mayo and Fowlace also talking about tyre fall-off. Tyre fall-off will not be an issue in this race. Some of these drivers may be spooling up the tyres a little bit more than others, but it should not be to the degree of where we will need to see a tyre change. You should be able to go the entire distance of 45 laps without needing a set of tyres. Sure, we may get a little bit loose towards that moment in time though, especially as these cars get a little bit lighter in the rear end, the fuel tanks going down, making it so that the weight shifts the balance of the car more towards the front of the machine than the rear. Battle for 5th on your screen now. Wiseman, Hill, Rice, Winniger, Jagerman. The bottom right hand corner. And Hill caught way up to the back as Victor Lane has a little bit of an issue, and we express it as much as we can, as Dan Hill almost got run over by Clint Rice there as well. As Victor Lane just with a struggle through the bus stop. That checked up a lot of these drivers on the lead lap. see Clint Rice not too far behind Dan Hill now. Looking for any kind of opening that Dan Hill may give him. Into turn one, he's going to make the lunge. No, backs out of it. Trying to get in the head of Dan Hill just a little bit here. Try to make him make a mistake. And Rice, no stranger to putting the pressure right on the back bumper of a lot of these drivers. And it looks like Rice to the inside. Thought about it. Not quite enough to get there. Wayne Hufford also lingering in that 10th place position. Not too far back from this battle going on just ahead. Trying to find a little bit of a drive that he needs to make his way up towards the front. And John Hinchcliffe is going to start off our pit cycle. Coming in very, very early. And no damage it looks like on that machine. So John Hinchcliffe deciding to pit earlier rather than later. We will see how that one helps him out. As we pan to Michael Watts just for a little bit there as he made his way through the bus stop and immediately noticed that Dan Hill is under pressure from Darrell Winiger as Clint Rice has made his way around. Oh, you can see Darrell Winiger using all of the available track. Garisco getting lapped now. Hopefully he won't be too much involved in this one. I'm sure Rice will think otherwise. As just in the wrong place at the wrong time was Garisco for Clint Rice. Hurting his lap times just a little bit. Thankfully nothing too severe though, as he has worked his way up into the top 5. And currently 19 spots ahead of where he began this one. Mike Watts really setting the tone for this race. Last time by, still running low 1 minute 12 lap times. Clint Rice battling through traffic is down to the 113s now as he tries to make his way through. And Clint Rice, from what we've seen, is the only one that's really been able to match the lap times of our leaders so far. So we'll have to wait and see if Clint Rice is able to make up that gap. I don't see it happening, but certainly a top 3 is definitely on the cards for Clint Rice. As what happened there, just in front, Shane Wiseman. I'm not sure what happened there. It didn't look like there was contact between any cars, but he just had a little bit of an incident. We're also showing John Hinchcliffe had an accident. We're going to have a look at John Hinchcliffe. It looks like, from what we can see, it's been shown that he's had a crash. Oh, caught the grass on the outside. Couldn't get it slowed down. And no. Straight into the tyre barrier. That's absolutely horrific for John Hinchcliffe. That is going to ruin his race in its entirety. He was sitting in the 3rd place position when he came down and made that early pit stop. Trying something different on strategy. Oh no. Alice letting us know that Jack Jagerman's name is actually pronounced Jack Jagerman. So I will recondition myself to do that. So I appreciate that one. Thank you very much. As appreciate all the support from the spectators and fans at home, helping me better myself, better my own craft, and enjoying some action along with me, as Clint Rice has now made his way into the 4th position. Clint Rice still has the fastest lap of the race and is now looking to work his way around the back bumper of Josh Robinson. Looking on the back of Josh Robinson now. Oh, and pit stops right as we say it. And Rice is going to follow Robinson in as well, so that's going to shake things up a bit. Who gets the run out? That'll definitely be the question, as Ogle also came down. So did a couple other drivers. Brian Lindsay, Lloyd Moore, Dale Copeland, Clay Walker, John Hastings, all down pit road. Mike Watts continues to stay out the front for the moment. Dan Hill takes over the 2nd position. Shane Wiseman taking over 3rd. Now, the question has to be, Shane Wiseman, it doesn't seem to be affecting him all that much so far, but he did clobber that wall with that left side, heading on the run down into turn 1 across the start-finish line. So we've got to wonder just how damaged that 69 machine is. You can see they're very wide on the carousel. Looks like he may have to give up the spot to Darrell Winiger. He will be on the inside for the next corner, though. And it looks like they're going to be side by side. And Winiger is going to take that spot away. Jack Jagerman is thinking about making his way through as well. Well, there's a little bit of avoidance there from Jack Jagerman. Almost wanted to... Well, didn't want to rear end the back bumper of Darrell Winiger. Chris Bates down pit road. I believe he has just come out. As well as you can see Patrick Martindale, who I believe from what I saw just there, actually crossed over that yellow line on pit exit. Now, if you do that, that will amount to you getting a drive-through penalty for cutting pit road exit. So I believe that is only going to hurt Patrick Martindale's day, as he currently sits in the 26th position. So very unfortunate for that Napa Auto Parts machine. The run to pit entry, not quite the same. You can cut that yellow line as much as possible, as long as you get it into pit lane and get it down to the very pitiful pit speed that is 40 miles an hour. By the time you make that yellow cone, just before the wall separating pit lane and the racetrack. Shane Wiesman with Wayne Hufford were both down pit road as they make their way down from the 5th and 6th position, is what it's showing right now, as Dwayne MacArthur makes his way around them. And the battle split up just a little bit. We're going to have to take a look at Josh Robinson. He did have Clint Rice right behind, but what has happened here, as you can see, the gap has massively opened up on it. That pit cycle, as Clint Rice fell well behind Josh Robinson. And Michael Watts relinquishes the top spot, coming down pit road with 22 laps to go in this one. Will Dan Hill join him down pit road? Dan Hill's going to stay out one more lap at least, with Darrell Winiger not too far behind. Jack Jagerman, you can see there, just coming in to the back of shot as well. Jimmy Mayo, absolutely spot on. It looks like most of these drivers splitting it around about halfway, and that is exactly what we are witnessing. Oh, it sounded like Winiger hit the inside wall there. Just sounded for a moment in my headset as if he hit that inside wall heading up into turn 3 during the S's. Gonna keep an eye on Wiseman as well. Sorry, excuse me, Winiger as well. As everything has been shaken up. See both these drivers staying out. Jack Jagerman also staying out. He will get up that track map for one more time, so you can have a look at just how spread out the field is right now as the drivers figure out where they want to be. Michael Watts did manage to come out and found himself in the 4th position, not losing much time at all, sitting all by his lonesome, making his way through the S's. And don't look now, but it seems to be Josh Robinson making his way up through the field, just behind Jonathan Green. Robinson has taken a stop. Green has not. So the reason why I've just noticed the reason why Clint Rice managed to get out so much slower than Josh Robinson, Rice actually took 4 tires. So Rice will have the fresher tires, but that has allowed Robinson to gain that much of a distance. Shane Wiseman also taking 4 tires, as well as Wayne Hufford in the 13th position. Some of these drivers deciding that they will need that fresh rubber underneath them. Mike Watts decided not to take any, as did Josh Robinson. And Tom Ogle with a very slow stop, I've just seen. Tom Ogle sitting all the way down in 15th position with a 52nd. That is very indicative of a stop and hold. So potentially speeding down pit road for Tom Ogle. And that has shaken things up as he was sitting in the 2nd place position and in a good position to finish this one in that spot. So definitely pit woes and struggles rearing their ugly head as Jack Jagerman makes his way to the inside of Winiger. Doesn't manage to do it. Risco Carisco is in the middle of this battle with Dan Hill for the lead. See as they head their way up through the S's. Carisco a little bit wide. He's going to be slowing down Winiger. And now Jack Jagerman right on the back bumper. It would be interesting to see a 3-wide move, and I'm so glad that was avoided. Because interesting is certainly a word, and not the first one that came to mind, I must admit, when I thought about that move. But Jagerman deciding better of it. As Winiger still continues to use every bit of racetrack. You can see in the background, just creeping his way into the picture, comes Michael Watts. As these 3 drivers up front continue to stay out, and they are going to run the full fuel window lap. Full fuel window run, I should say. Is what it is currently looking like. Bit of a battle going on further back in the field. Greg McDaniel, Cameron Shosey fighting for the 16th position. Just behind Donnie Spiker. Donnie Spiker, our top performing triple number driver of the two of them. Sitting in the 15th position. Terry Atwood in 19th spot. Doing a great job as well, it must be said. 35 drivers, top 20, certainly nothing to sneeze at. Go back to the battle with Donnie Spiker. Cameron Shosey made his way around Greg McDaniel and is now on the back of Donnie Spiker, who has not come down pit road. And it looks like Clint Rice is in pit road again. So more woes for Clint Rice as he came down a second time. Not sure what happened there. So from what I'm seeing, potentially Clint Rice. Oh, and then he had another incident just as we were panning away to have a look at what happened there. Into the bus stop. And I think Clint Rice is very upset with himself at the moment. Serving a slowdown or passing through the bus stop. We'll have a quick look at that. That'll be much more entertaining to watch. And then you can see Mike Watts right behind. Clint Rice just not quite getting it slowed down enough. And locking up those front tires. Mike Watts seeing a few issues in and around where he is right now. It looks as though he has backed off his pace quite a bit. Not needing to get involved in anything too dangerous right now. And speak of the devil, right into the back bumper of Patrick Martindale, and somehow he was able to keep it out of that one. I don't know how those two drivers worked that one out between them. But man, oh man, that could have been absolute disaster for Mike Watts just then. What happened? Looks like Martindale went off track again as well as what we're being shown. Absolutely. Entry was completely compromised as he was right on that inside line. But wow. So things just get more and more interesting as we go back to the battle for the second position, as Dan Hill has made a little bit more of a gap, about 1.5 seconds. Falling down to 1 second, it sounded like he did hit the barricade just a little bit, so that will slow himself up. As Darrell Winiger and Jack Jagerman continue have this battle. So absolutely right. Dan Hill, Darrell Winiger, Jack Jagerman, none of these drivers, these top three, have taken a pit stop so far. Your first place driver with a pit stop is Michael Watts. Darrell Winiger decides to come down. He doesn't want to have Jack Jagerman right on the back bumper any longer. Decides to make his way down and gets followed through with Donnie Spiker as well. Jack Jagerman and Dan Hill are going to continue to stay out. They are going to have to make their way down pit road very, very soon, though, as those tanks will be quite low at this point. potentially another 3 laps of fuel left from what we've gathered from our fuel calculator for each of these drivers, but I'm not sure how much. And take a look at the pit strategy on the bottom right of screen and where they're running right now. 32 laps without a break, Dan Hill and Jack Jagerman. Watts came in at the end of lap 24. Robinson a little bit earlier. With Shane Wiseman in the top 5 also coming in around lap 23. Dan Hill is going to come in and give Jack Jagerman the lead. Remember again, some of these drivers deciding to take tyres, which will definitely affect their time in the pit box. I'd like to see if Dan Hill does take tyres, and he did not. So Dan Hill on his way out. Very strategic call for him. Hopefully he hasn't run those tyres down too much in his very long stint out the front. Jack Jagerman enjoying his time in the limelight. At 27 M&M back machine. Sure, I don't have to tell you that that's very reminiscent of Kyle Busch. Not driving quite like Kyle Busch though. A little bit cleaner head on Jack Jagerman as he comes down pit road. So Jack Jagerman will relinquish the lead to Mike Watts. Does take it back. You can see him coming out of turn 1 right now. Every single driver coming down pit road except Brian Lynch, who has not made his way down pit road quite as yet. Neither has Jeff Lydon. Only 2 machines still out there who have not made their way down pit road. Brian Lynch sitting in the 11th position. And Jeff Lydon in the 20th spot. These drivers very much stretching out that fuel window as much as possible. Brian Lynch is going to stay out another lap. Does make me wonder if a couple of these drivers, aka Brian Lynch and Jeff Lydon, if they seriously thought they were going to make their way to the end. Jeff Lydon definitely not, as he is down pit road now. Roy Baker allowing plenty of room for Michael Watts to go by unscathed. As Mike Watts now makes his way behind, that looks to be Mark Schrader. He's currently sitting in the 22nd position. We have 13 machines on the lead lap right now. Greg McDaniel, the last one that is not a lap down, and you can see him just ahead of Mike Watts and behind Brian Lynch, who is the only remaining driver who have not come down pit road thus far, and he will go a lap down to Mike Watts right there at the exit of the carousel. There are tires for Jack Jagerman. That is exactly right, as he is out in P4. And somehow Brian Lynch, oh wow, okay. That was very interesting between Jonathan Green and Brian Lynch, both deciding to come down pit road. Jonathan Green finding himself coming down pit road, not probably wanting to. Brian Lynch on his scheduled stop and very lucky to avoid a incoming Jonathan Green behind him. And we've got a report Shane Wiseman has crashed. Wiseman having such a great run so far. And it looks like that may have ended it. Oh no! The 39 machine got loose and there was absolutely nowhere the 69 could go. That was Jeff Lydon on fresh tyres. Just not quite finding exactly where the edge of the racetrack was, clipping the grass just a tad, hitting the brakes, sending that car around. And unfortunately, Heisman gets caught up in it. Victor Lane letting us know that he is one and done out of the race. Very unfortunate to see that from Victor Lane. Having a little bit of a struggle here tonight with Watkins Glen. Definitely road courses, not something that a lot of these drivers are used to and can take a whole lot of preparation, especially considering these cars are not designed for it either. But right now, your top 5 look like this. Mike Watts, Josh Robinson, Dan Hill, Jack Jagerman, Daryl Winiger. That is making up your top 5 right now. So far, the top 6 drivers, which includes Dwayne the Man MacArthur, are the only ones to have not taken tyres, only fuel. Wayne Hufford, the first driver on track that has taken tyres, sitting in the 7th position. And Clint Rice is still setting absolutely ridiculous lap times as he makes his way, continues to try and make up those struggles and woes. Make his way up as Cameron shows he has a little bit of a bobble coming out of turn 1. And Rice is going to take the 11th spot away from him. Right now, we are more focused on this battle for the 3rd position, as Dan Hill, Jack Jagerman, and Daryl Winiger are all so close together. Troy Baker checking up Dan Hill a little bit. That's allowing Jack Jagerman to catch right on the bumper. We're going to see if he can use that draft through the S's and towards the bus stop. Chris Bates also going to be involved in the mix there. Dan Hill showing he wants that spot. Bates backs out of it very smartly. Allows this battling group to go by. So this battle for 3rd definitely being decided. And let's not forget, Josh Robinson, you can see just for a moment, is not far ahead of this group. You can see Robinson there. And Dan Hill not too far behind at all. But Michael Watts doing what Michael Watts does and putting on an absolute clinic here tonight. A 26-second margin over the rest of the field. All he's got to do at this point is just make sure he gets through traffic clean. Continue to click off laps as we have 6 to go. Daryl Winiger still trying to work his way slightly higher up into the top 4. But a top 5, certainly nothing to sneeze at. It's only the 2nd last race before the playoffs. Only one more to go next week at Daytona. Certainly not a race you want to make it so that you have to win that one to make your way in. And at the moment, sitting in the 18th position on the playoff bubble is Alan Wanamaker. I believe did not turn up tonight. See, a lot of the intensity just seems to have died down just a tiny bit as these drivers are fighting with the machine more than each other right now. Those tires get a little bit loose. After being in, and you can see right there, Darrell Winiger once again. I certainly heard it in the headset. You saw the car make a move after it. Flipping that wall on the inside of the S's. I should say inside on the final turn of the S's, turn 4. Exit of turn 3. In through the carousel, and Jack Jagerman is caught right up to the back of Hill once again. Hill has a little bit of a lock-up. Jagerman gets a nice, better run out of the corner exit. Don't think it's going to be enough, though. They're going to jump on board Darrell Winiger, go for a ride around. Just a little bit, as he currently sits in the 5th position. See Dan Hill very wide and then cutting down on the carousel. Just a couple cars ahead. Winiger and Jagerman using all of the available space on exit of the carousel. Looks like Winiger actually gaining quite a bit of time on Jagerman and Hill in front, as we were on board using all of the available track, just barely missing the wall there. Which certainly is the fastest way around, but also quite sketchy. So you ain't driving fast if you aren't on the limit. That is exactly what Winiger is trying to do right now. Drive on the limit of this machine's grip. That is absolutely beautiful driving. Nice, clean lines from Darrell Winiger. Stan Hill is certainly feeling the pressure. See, his lines are all out of whack right now. That has allowed Jagerman to continue to try and force an issue out of that 7 machine. Oh, Jack Jagerman, a bit of an issue, somehow able to catch himself. And surely he's going to stay up and try and finish this one. He does so. I believe hit that left side barricade on the exit. Just between the 2 corners. Actually, earlier this year we saw in the WEC World Endurance Championship there was a driver. Not exactly who right now, but I think it was a Corvette that actually managed to hit, no, it was a BMW, hit that barricade and flipped over on its roof. So thankfully the same cannot be said for Jack Jagerman, and he continues to drive on all 4 tires and only losing 1 spot in the process to Darrell Winiger. Great job from him as we come to the final lap. Jonathan Green and Robert Briscoe Garisco battling for the 22nd position. See a bit of a dive there from Green, and able to take that one without too much of an issue. Really sending it in deep, making it stick. As not too far behind them, Mike Watts. It's going to bring it home in the top spot, provided he doesn't get himself involved in anything too crazy towards the end here. Rice right behind, sitting in the 11th spot. 10 drivers on the lead lap, and Mike Watts take a bow. Shades of Shane Van Gisbergen at Chicago. Josh Robinson making his way through for the second position. And Dan Hill right on the back bumper has Darryl Winiger. Winiger's not going to get enough of a run, I don't believe. He's going to try it anyway and not quite able to get there. Third place going Dan Hill's way. Absolutely fantastic racing from all of these drivers. Coming out tonight. Johnny Spiker got passed by Terry Atwood right on the final lap. And Terry Atwood takes the title of Best Triple Number Driver as he brings it home in the 16th position. Wayne Hufford still taking home the 7th place, which is the top finish of anyone who did take tyres. And that will be that. So a fantastic close race for all of the drivers out tonight. Very, very thrilling to watch. I hope you enjoyed it as well as I did. Mike Watts taking it home with a very dominant performance as he chalks off the top spot. Josh Robinson in our second position, returning after not being available last week, and Dan Hill bringing home third place. Fantastic job from these three and everyone else in the field. We will take a short break as we prepare for interviews and let the grid run down as we do, so you can see where your favorite driver may have ended up in this one. See you shortly. So as we prepare for our interviews here tonight, I'd like to once again thank every single person who tunes in and turns up, that's how I should have said that, to every single race, and not only that, but certainly to this one as well, as the Old Bastards Racing League Kimball Cup Series definitely providing action every single week and showing us just what it takes for these drivers to do what they do. Absolutely phenomenal racing from these guys. Dustin Martinson saying that was rough. And you know what, Dustin? It looked very rough. It looked like a well-fought battle, I should say, all the way around though. Yeah, at the Glen. Certainly nothing to sneeze at, that is for sure. Still waiting on the drivers to make their way down to the broadcast waiting room. As I'm sure there are probably some words being exchanged from some drivers. We haven't seen too many incidents in terms of drivers clashing into one another this race, though, so that was good. Probably just talking about how they were able to manage the really keeping the car underneath them. Have Dan Hill in the waiting room as well as Josh Robinson, and I'm sure Watts will join us soon as I do see has his microphone switched on as well. So first we'll get Dan Hill in here. Welcome to the booth, the number 7 machine, Dan Hill. How are you feeling after that one?
Exhausted, man. That was a rough race.
Well, it absolutely looked like a rough race. I have to really ask you, you were in battles the entire race long. Were you worried that someone was going to really just able to take it from you? It looked like you had a lot of competition behind, and I just want to know how you managed to deal with that pressure, I guess.
Yeah, I tell you what, a lot of these guys have gotten a lot better at these road courses, and it, it, I don't know how I held them off, especially twice in the carousel. I downshifted to first, and I'm not really sure how I didn't kill the car. But these guys have gotten so good, and you just every lap you have to win every lap. If you're not, you're they're gonna catch you. I mean, it was tough.
Well, I tell you, Dan, I mean, it was fantastic watching. You were constantly in a battle with Jagerman, Winiger, Wiseman was there. I mean, it just never seemed to end for you. You were in constant pressure, and that's why we were talking about it. Was it a huge deal for you to make that decision to not take tires, and how loose was the car when you came out of pit road?
I mean, it's actually pretty good. I mean, the tires really don't wear here, so you can pretty much get away with not taking with not taking tires. And I figure most guys probably did the same thing, took fuel only. But it's just I kind of wanted to gamble, and I waited to pit later than everybody else because I wanted to get out in front where like I didn't have cars in front of me, and I tried to lay down like as fast as laps as I could, and it ended up helping me a little bit because I came out a little bit better positioned after everybody cycled through their pit stop. So but I mean, it's tough because I mean, you don't get tires, and it's hard.
Absolutely. Well, we did see a few slides from some of the drivers. It must have been um, pretty good for you, I guess, and unfortunate for Jack to see Jagerman have that issue coming between the final two corners of that lap. I think it was lap, I want to say about 42, 43. I bet that took pressure off you just a little bit and allowed you to not quite coast to the win, but certainly feel some pressures and some weight off your shoulders.
Oh yeah, I mean, with 2 laps to go, I was sitting there thinking, man, I really don't want to lose a spot with right at the end, and then he had that mistake, and that definitely let me kind of just ease up and kind of just ride it. I was digging real hard for a little bit there, trying to catch Josh. I thought maybe I could catch him, but he's an alien, so who's gonna catch him?
Well, absolutely, and we will speak to the alien just a second, see how human he really is. But we will let you go, Dan Hill. So just before we do that, let us know, friends, family, sponsors, who would you like to shout out for this third place finish here tonight?
Yeah, shout out to my mom and my dad for obviously letting me hang out at their house and race, and my wife too. She's always supporting me and always wondering how I'm doing in the league and whatnot. And then also MXPX is releasing an album this week. It comes out and I think Tuesday, so check it out. They're my sponsor. They've always been my sponsor. They've always been a big part of my life. So, yep, that's all I got. Thanks, man. Thanks to you for all you do in the broadcast.
Well, thank you very much, Dan Hill. It was great to talk to you, and I'm sure we'll see you, maybe not at Daytona, but we'll see you in a couple races. I know that one will be a bit sketchy with who we find up here in the booth, but good luck to you in the next race and the rest of the series.
Thanks, bud.
All right, that was Dan Hill bringing it home in the third place position. Next up, the man, the myth, the legend, the alien, Josh Robinson, reporting for duty in the number 23 machine. Josh, how did that feel from your perspective?
think this is the best possible outcome for me. But Mike was going to be super fast, and then Clint, Dwayne, and Tom and Dan were all going to be super fast as well. And knew I wasn't going to catch Mike unless there was a huge mistake. And I think the other guys had. I think something happened to Clint a little bit, and then Tom had a pit road penalty, so I was able to snake those spots away from him. So super happy with the second place.
Yeah, talk us through. I know it wasn't to do with you a whole lot, but talk us through what was going in your headset when Tom Ogle probably reported that he had that sort of issue. We didn't exactly see what happened, but we did get the idea that he did come down pit road too hot. Was he just getting on the brakes a bit hard, or did he just?
I think he just cruised at 42. So pit road speed here is 40 mile an hour, and I think he just cruised a little bit over that at 42 mile an hour for too long. You get a little bit of leeway, but if you're above the speed limit for too long, the iRacing stewards will nab you, and they got him.
It certainly seemed that way. Well, Josh, you found yourself in a little bit of a bubble. I must admit, I was a little worried when I saw you drop to fourth place at the start of the race. I thought, oh, maybe Josh doesn't actually have it this time. And you found yourself in a unique little bubble, as I said, to work your way into the second place. But it certainly wasn't an easy finish. And you must have been thinking, well, Dan Hill, Darrell Winiger, Jack Yeagerman was so close behind you. You must have felt a little bit of pressure as well behind you.
Absolutely, I had to find a little speed at the end, and I think I might have turned my three fastest laps of the race, uh, right at the end there. But yeah, I saw Dan approach, and it was like, well, I better make a change here. I'm gonna find myself in fifth or sixth.
Yeah, definitely looked like it was a bit of a scary task, but you managed to pull through and hold them off pretty well. I got one final question for you, Josh, and that is lap traffic. We saw it have an impact on a few drivers here tonight. Got to ask you, did it impact you a whole lot? Did you find yourself not too happy with how lap traffic was treating you, or was it very respectful out there?
Oh yeah, they were all. I found, uh, everyone to be pretty respectful out there. It is so tough. When you're looking at it from outside of the cockpit view, it looks pretty simple to get by someone or pretty simple to let someone by. But when you're in that car, and you're approaching a corner, it is way harder than it looks. So I thought everyone did a really good job tonight.
All right, fantastic. Very nice, humble words from the alien Josh Robinson, who are really living up to that name as you continue to find yourself in the top three. Sad we didn't see you last week, excuse me, but we are very happy to see you on track once again. So, before we sign you off, Josh, any friends, family, sponsors, teammates you'd like to shout out here tonight for this second place finish at the Glen?
Yeah, thank you guys for doing the broadcast. Thank Dwayne and crew, the rest of the admins, and our title sponsor Kimball for the sponsorship this season. And shout out to everyone that came out. We had a really good field. Always good to see a lot of drivers at a road course. It tends to scare people away, but we had a solid field tonight. And then shout out to Watts. He was way clearly the class of the field tonight.
All right, very humble, sounds very nice. We will catch you later, Josh Robinson.
Have a good one, Gareth.
Right, I certainly will as we look forward, excuse me, to see the man of the hour, Michael Watts, the road course ringer, shades of Shane Van Gisbergen as you cross the line here at the Glen. What are your thoughts on that race, and was it really cruisy from your perspective? I have to ask.
It probably should have been. The Lowe's Ford Mustang ran really good all day. From the start, just really about hitting your marks, hitting your apexes, and putting good consistent laps down. I knew we had some fast guys in the field from practice, so I just wanted to go out there and try not to make any mistakes. I would say I was really cruising because at one point I had three guys in front of me after I pitted, and I wasn't sure if they pitted or not, because we don't have really good, I don't know, crew chief information, or at least I don't, being in VR. So, uh, it was a good race. It was a car had lots of grip, and yeah, I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, so I mean, it seemed like you. I mean, look, it seemed like you were cruising from our perspective. Obviously, there were a few problems. We do have to talk about that lap down car. I believe it was Patrick Martindale on the exit of the S's with only about 4 laps to go. That definitely must have shaken you up in that cockpit.
Yeah. Well, and that was I was chasing down those other guys in front of me, waiting, kind of waiting for them to pit. I probably should have just backed off because I didn't know. Like I said, I didn't know if they had pitted or not. But yeah, I came up on him really quick, and I don't know if he let off or if he was just kind of going that much slower. But going through the S's, it's kind of a rhythm thing, and you really have to, kind of turn the wheel and get on the throttle at the same place and shift in the same place, or else you get the car all out of whack and it can really throw you off. And I just came up on him real quick, and I tried to move, as far left as I could, but I think I still got a piece of him. I wasn't sure exactly where he was going or if he even saw me back there because I came up on him really quick. So like I said, I don't know if he lifted or what, but yeah, that was a little scary moment. And then just trying to keep the car in the track limits every lap. So, but yeah, I hated that, made contact with Patrick because I was looking for a zero incident race, and that kind of ruined that aspect.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it was definitely a scary moment and one we were 100% watching. You can guarantee of that up here in the booth, and we were worried that it was going to dash your hopes and dreams here tonight. But once again, living up to the road course ringer sort of name or almost nickname that I've come to know you as, especially from Sonoma, and once again proving it here at Watkins Glen. Well, I hope you pop a nice big bottle of champagne and celebrate tonight. But before we let you go, Mike, the only thing I have to ask you is, do you have any friends, family, sponsors, teammates, whoever else? The floor's yours. Send them off for our final send-offs of the night for this first place here at the Glen.
Yeah. So my daughter had a birthday this month, so I wish her happy birthday, and I gotta thank my wife for letting me do this. She lets me come in here and race, and this is my hobby, so I love her for that. And yeah, thank my teammates for coming out here, and some of the guys that asked for help. I like that this league is a great league. The admins do a great job, and I feel like we put on some really good races. So um, yeah, I just would love more people to tune in and see the racecraft and uh, the competition that we put on, the show we put on.
All right, sounds great. Mike Watts, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy celebration schedule to talk to us here today. And nice, nice work. I got no other words for it. It looked phenomenal out there, and you were absolutely on a tear with that Lowe's backed forward. So enjoy yourself, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you, Gareth. And maybe someday I'll get another one on a oval, and then I can shed the road course ringer. But yeah, I appreciate you everything you guys do, and just keep up the good work. Thank you.
Alrighty, so that was Mike Watts bringing it home in the top spot. We're going to let you all go. Thank you very much for once again tuning in to today's event. It's been absolutely phenomenal and fantastic to have you all here with us tonight. I hope you enjoyed the action as much as I did. Tune in next week at the same time, at the same place on the Team Goon Squad Network for Daytona International Speedway, where absolutely anything could happen, and I will be there once again to join you for that event. So, on behalf of the Old Bastards Racing League, the Kimball Cup Series, and Team Goon Squad, as well as all my family and folks down under, we will catch you later. See you then, and have a great night.